Is it safe to shower with her? Okay, I want us to have this.
Hey, what's up everyone, Danny here. This is the next budget gaming PC build for the channel, and it was put together using only brand new parts. If you've been watching my content for a while, then you know that this isn't a regular occurring thing on the channel, because for most of my builds, I like to mix in some used parts in there so I can get better price performance. But I have found that doing all brand new builds is a good challenge for me, and it tests my deal hunting skills, and people seem to enjoy it. I'm not going to have direct links to all the parts that I used in this build down in the description section below, because for the most part, I was able to find a lot of things on sale in some shape or form. See, the point of doing these all brand new builds is not to show you some cookie cutter build at MSRP prices so that you can just click on some Amazon affiliate links and I make a quick buck while you're paying full prices for things. The point of doing this is so I can show you an example build to inspire and motivate you to go out and try to deal hunt like I do so that you can find similar deals or deals that are even better than the ones that I can find. Try not to pay MSRP for stuff because parts are always going on sale. You just have to look for them and be a little patient. But yeah, without further ado, let's check out what I was able to put together. Alright, so let's start off by looking at all the parts that I used in this build one by one. I'll discuss why I chose them and their prices, which will include all taxes, shipping costs, and savings due to mail-in rebates. First up, we have the CPU. If you have under $40 to spend for the entire build, then the Intel Kaby Lake Pentium G4560 will be your go-to processor. The MSRP for this is $64, but I've seen it go as low as $50 on some sales. I grabbed mine for $59.99 on eBay, but even the MSRP is a really good price for what this processor is capable of. There's nothing that can really compete with it at the moment when it comes to price performance. This is a 2-core 4-thread processor that can perform very close to an i3, but comes in at nearly half the price. Next up is the motherboard, which is the Biostar Hi-Fi B150S1. Now, I was able to grab this on Newegg when they were having a huge site-wide sale on Biostar products. I grabbed a few of them to use in other builds, but the price would have been $26.98 if I only grabbed one, so I'll add that to the total. This is a Skylake motherboard, but will work with the G4560 since Kaby Lake is also an 1151 socket. To be sure if any specific motherboard you're looking at is capable of BIOS flashing to work with Kaby Lake, simply look it up on its website and the information should be there. We're at the point now though that most Skylake 100 series boards are coming pre-flashed to support Kaby Lake. If it's not pre-flashed, then you're going to need a Skylake CPU to do the flashing, so you can either use a spare one if you have one, you can borrow a friend's, or you can take it to a computer shop or a store like Fry's or Micro Center, and they should be able to do it either for free or very little charge. For the graphics card, I went with the 4GB PowerColor Red Dragon RX480. I found my RX480 for $164.99. It had a rebate that brought it down $20 from that, and Doom was also included with the card. Since I already owned Doom, I sold the included copy on Craigslist for $15 pretty easily, which brought the card down to $129.99. To me, it was worth it to grab this card given the price. Even if the CPU does bottleneck a little bit, there will always be some form of bottlenecking. Just try your best to minimize it, and in this case, I knew the G4560 would be up to the task of handling the RX480. For the RAM, I went with the cheapest stuff I could find on Newegg, which is this 8GB stick of Apacer RAM. 2133MHz, DDR4, and it fits the bill. It's kinda ugly, but I really don't care about that when we're coming in at this low of a budget. If you want to spend a little bit more to grab dual channels or fancy heatsink, you can do that. I bought this before for a previous build and it cost me $27 brand new from Newegg. This was about half a year ago. Now the exact same stick costs $51.99, almost double the price. Had it not been for the restriction of making this build with only brand new components, I would have gone for used RAM. It's easily one of the most durable parts in a computer, so going used will save you a bit of money with little risk involved. For the power supply, I grabbed an EVGA 450B. This is 450 watts, 80 plus bronze rated from a reputable company, and it got a thumbs up from Johnny Guru. There's not really much else to expect for a power supply when we're piecing together this low cost of a build. This was originally $33.99 at B&H Photos. A $25 rebate brought this down to $8.99. It's pretty uncommon to find a deal like this one because power supplies don't often go for less than $10 even after sales and rebates, but that's not an issue because there are usually plenty from $15 to $20 on any given day. For the hard drive, I went with a 1TB 7200 RPM generic white label hard drive from a company called Go Hard Drive on eBay. I know the name sounds sketch as heck, but not to worry, they're legit. These white label drives are made by major hard drive companies and then sold to other companies rebranded. Like this one, for example, was sold for Dell Systems. I was able to grab this one for $35.94 after shipping and taxes, and it works just fine. Similar to most of the past builds, the operating system going onto this will be unactivated Windows 10, which doesn't cost anything. I made a video showing how to install it recently, and I'll have it linked down below for those of you who are interested. And last but not least, to hold everything in, I'm using the Zalman T5 ATX Mini Tower. I actually bought 2 of these cases because they were so cheap. It was $9.99 with $3.99 shipping per case, so I had $13.98 to the build total. It's not the best case out there, it just gets the job done and has features that a sub $20 case has. It's pretty thin metal all around, it doesn't have the most sturdy or rigid construction, and it only comes with one fan, which is located in the rear. It has a cheap permanent breakaway covers for the expansion ports, and it's kind of a bit of a tight space to work in. I know it sounds like I'm crapping on this case after listing all those things, but overall it's not that bad though. The front cover is brushed metal, which is a nice touch, and it has an overall pretty minimal look to it. And for these really low cost builds, the case is really just there to house everything in and to give you a convenient way to power it on. So the total price of the build worked out to $327.86. People more extreme at deal hunting than I am could probably push a similar build closer to $300 since I did identify some spots where money could have been saved. And casual deal hunters should look to put together something similar for around $400, which wouldn't be a bad price at all considering it would be all new parts. But let's get to the assembly. Here's a quick time lapse of me putting the build together. Like I said, the T5 is a pretty small case to work in. Having built in a lot of mini and micro cases, I didn't have too much trouble getting everything to fit. But if you're a first time builder, you might be scratching your head a little bit trying to get it super clean and cable managed. Most of the cheaper budget cases that you're going to run into will be like this, and it's pretty expected at their price. For overclocking, this is what I ended up with for stable settings. The core clock was increased from 1266 to 1350 MHz, and I left the memory clock alone since that was a lot more sensitive for stability and it gave less noticeable gains than the core did. I wanted to get the core up to an even 1400 MHz, but doing so on this card caused it to crash on some of the benchmarks. So I backed it down to 1350, and that is a 6.6% increase. Now let's take a look at how this build performs. I tested it with both synthetic benchmarks as well as live gaming sessions. The synthetic benchmarks are there so that you can kind of directly compare it to other builds that you might have seen across the internet. It's going to be a little bit different in terms of settings, but for the most part the scenarios remain the same, so it's easier to make a direct comparison when you're looking at the raw results. But the live gaming session is there so that you can kind of get a better feel of the overall quality and smoothness of the gameplay as if you were sitting in front of it playing it yourself. But be sure to keep an eye on both the CPU and GPU usage throughout each of the tests with the on-screen monitoring just to see how well the two parts pair together. But yeah, other than that, sit back, relax, and enjoy the benchmarks. So those were the benchmarks, and as you saw, most of those were set to either max or close to max settings. If you want higher frame rates than what you saw in those results, then you're gonna have to optimize the settings a bit and trade off some quality to get you there. But the only oddball in this was Grand Theft Auto, which I had to do custom settings for to try to balance out the CPU and GPU usage, and that's kind of a hard game to do that for. At some points during the test, you see that everything is fully utilized, and then at some points, you see that the GPU is barely loaded at all. Either way, I still think the game looked great at the settings I had it on, and it ran pretty smoothly. That's gonna wrap it up for this video, so if you enjoyed it or if you found it helpful at all, please be sure to leave a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Let me know down below what you thought of the build overall, considering the performance it was able to give, as well as the price point it came in at under $350 and even creeping closer to that $325. A couple more good deals and I would have been well under $325. But let me know what you would upgrade first in the system while keeping it under $400. For me, I personally usually look at SSDs if there's nothing else that's in dire need of replacement. And in this case, I don't think there is anything. Stock cooler works just fine, as well as the cheap old Zalman case. You know, it's not the best case out there, but it still gets the job done. And throwing in an SSD would make the quality of life be a lot better with the quicker boot up times and loading times of some of your more common favorite programs. But yeah, let me know what you would personally do. But other than that, thank you as always for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I look forward to reading all your comments down below, as well as seeing you in the next video. Bye.